Today this is the last part of the marketing series with Rural Action. We've done three more the last three Tuesdays covering social media, um, general marketing tips, photography, all the things marketing. And we're ending today on orders, sales, and inventory. And how does this relate to marketing? Well, this is the end product of all your marketing is to get those orders. So it's really important that you know how to do that and you track them and you find the best tools that work for you. Um, just like all the other presentations, the first half is going to be me talking and going through a presentation, and then the second half is going to be our fantastic panelist that we have with us tonight. And they come from three very different backgrounds on selling very different products in very different ways. And so it will be really great to pick their brains and kind of see how they do things and where they started and how they got to where they are now. So to get started, a little bit of background about sales in general. So as you think through point of sale systems, as you think through tracking your inventory and how you're going to do that, it is really important to think about how people are buying their products, and how your customers specifically are going to buy your products. And this kind of goes more into choosing a point of sale system than it does kind of in the beginning of things. But we're going to go through a couple things right now. So background information is credit card usage is huge. So if you don't accept credit cards, it is really, really hard to make sales depending on your market. So the majority of people are using cards now to purchase things. If you are selling higher value items, such as meat or even flowers, or bouquets or dried bouquets, some of that makes it harder for people who carry a few dollars in cash to buy your product. And they might want to buy $50 worth, but they only have a $20 bill. And that $20 might have to last them throughout, if you're selling at a farmer's market, through that entire farmer's market. And so you are only allotted a very small portion of that 20. So credit card usage, according to Capital One Shopping, and they've done tons of studies on this throughout the years, was used for 73.3% of all retail purchases last year in 2024. So just about 3/4 of all retail purchases have been done with credit cards. Cash has declined over 30% since 2017, according to Capital One. Part of that is the getting cash is more challenging than it used to be. People don't carry it around as much. There are still folks that do. The boomers and older generations will still carry cash, as well as it's been found that lower income households carry cash as well. Cash has come back for some based on if they follow the Dave Ramsey method or if they follow the envelope method for budgeting for their household. Some households do. I don't remember what the exact name of it, but it's an envelope and you put money into each envelope for each different thing. Part of that is discretionary funds. Part of that is groceries. So if they do some sort of cash-based system for their household, that is also where they will carry cash. There are not a ton of people that do that. With all of the different home-based budgeting systems and apps and free software you can find and use, people are less and less likely to use that as well. Mobile payments. So if you use your cell phone to pay with Google Pay or Apple Pay, those have increased year after year since 2021, and account for about 23% of consumer purchases and peer-to-peer payments. So if you've heard of all the systems like Venmo, where you can pay your friend who bought you a drink or bought you a steak or bought you dinner, those are peer-to-peer payments. Those are increasing. They are also increasingly being used for folks at farmers markets, at retail stores, because it is an easy way that people who don't carry their cards on them, don't carry wallets on them, can make payments to the company. And those, at one point, now is changing, those payments were not taxed. So now you will have to pay taxes on those. They have changed that around to Not all, obviously, it's based on your state and food laws and food taxing, but those will have to get taxed as well. So how do you take orders? I know that I feel like I'm like rewinding and going down to base level here because I think we've all taken orders in some way or at least had communication with people who have taken our order, and you have great experiences and then you have not so great experiences. So think about as you're taking orders and as you're working with your employees or working with your partner or your spouse or your coworkers at your farm, how do you all communicate with them, with your customers? And then how do you like to be communicated with? Some of the best practices for taking orders is consistent communication. So if you are taking a meat order, for example, at the farmer's market, and meat is hard because it's stored in coolers. People can't see the pretty display of it. They can't see the product right up front. They can't see all of the different, just like at the grocery store, it's not displayed out in front of them where they can touch it and they can feel it and they can handle it. And same with produce. Explain the process to them. Say, what are you looking for? I will bring out a handful of steaks around the size that you're looking for, and you can pick the one that fits you best. Or you can take them around the side of the table to a separate table or to a separate trailer where you've got a pretty spread that you can then lay those steaks out on that they can then handle and put and say, okay, I want these. Or, oh, I was looking for something a little bit bigger. I didn't realize a pound was so small. Explain that process to them, take them through that. And then explain once they get that product, how they can reach back out to you. Do they have questions about it? Is there an issue? Can they reach out to you? Say, follow us on Facebook, reach out to me on here, go to our website to contact us. Keep that conversation going where they know that they can get a hold of you if they have questions. Easy to use order forms and easy to use purchasing is important. So if you're doing online ordering, if you are having a sales catalog, if you have a sales sheet, make sure that you have product information on there, either a product description, including the size and the weight of the product. If you're selling by individual items, if you're selling per pound, if you're selling per ounce, make sure that information is really clear, because there is nothing worse, and we all know this as consumers, is going up assuming that it is $23. If you see a jar of herbs and it says $23, you're going to assume that whole jar is $23, not an ounce, not per ounce. And if you get up there and say, oh, I want this jar, and they're like, okay, it's $23 an ounce, and this is 10 ounces, you're like, no, I don't want that anymore. And that's both, that is then shocking to you, and you're like, oh, this might not be what I'm looking for. So making sure that that information is put out there very clearly for your customers. The best way I can say this is just assume that people know nothing, because 90% of the time they don't. Only your repeat customers, the ones that are coming back to you and really getting involved and getting to know you, are the ones that know more about your business than you think they do. Just assume everybody else just knows nothing and they're walking up with no knowledge of life in their brains. And then finally, payment options. There are tons of different programs out there to take payment, cash, card, online. So again, the Apple Pay, Google Pay are your opportunities for that. There are different types of order channels. So farmers market, this is where you're going to connect one-on-one with your customers. It's in-person sales. It is timely. It can be costly to you because it takes you away from the farm. It takes you away from where you need to be and what you need to be doing. It is also challenging depending on what you're selling. If you're selling produce, if you're selling flowers, if you're selling some value-added items or baked goods, it's a great outlet for that because that's what people are assuming and they're expecting at that farmer's market. If you're selling meat, if you're selling ice cream, if you're selling dairy, that can be more challenging because people either don't want to carry that around, they don't have coolers, they don't have bags, insulated bags that they can put them in, and they don't want it to thaw and they don't want to run the risk of like, oh, well, I'm not going home next. I'm going to the coffee shop or I'm getting lunch. And then they're like, well, I don't have a place to put it, so therefore I can't buy it. So making sure that you are aware of the challenges with your order channel. The next one would be online store and e-commerce. So we're going to go over some of these here shortly. But these are great ways to sell your product, and you can do delivery, you can do local pickup, you can do pre-orders for the farmers market where they know that they're coming to the farmers market to get those items. And then you can also do shipping as well. Subscription and CSA models. These are becoming, the subscription model is becoming more and more popular, where people subscribe and they save, subscribe and save models. So they would subscribe to an order every month, just like a CSA. But they can go in, they can change what's in their cart, and every month they save 10%, but you have a guaranteed order of, I don't know, $40, $50 every month that's coming in. Even if they forget it, you're guaranteed that order. I do subscribe and save with a farm close to me who does pastured poultry. So I get a set order. I go in every month and change my order around and what have you. And my boyfriend's parents wanted to buy chicken and they don't have a poultry producer near them. So I was like, well, I'll get you some chicken and it'll be fine. And so I literally doubled my order. I got 2 whole birds, 4 sets of chicken breast, 4 things of thighs, a thing of drumsticks, a thing of wings. Forgot about it. Totally forgot about it. Ended up with the same order next month. And I was like, why do I have so much food? And then I was like, oh yeah, I didn't change my order. So I had I had $275 orders back to back, which was fantastic for them. It actually worked out better for me because I needed that chicken anyways, but you're guaranteed that, with all that to say, you are guaranteed that order. And it's a great system. And then obviously CSA is a fantastic system as well. People pay ahead and you get that for a set period of time. And then finally, phone sales, email sales, social media sales. It is almost guaranteed that someone will message you saying, I want to buy this when you post product or finished product or cooked product, whatever it is. They're like, I want to buy this. How do I buy this? Can I buy this now? And you're like, well, no, this is challenging. I don't know how to navigate this, but they're going to come in that way too. So having a system to funnel them to the right direction. Or if you're willing to take those orders, and then management of those orders is a little bit more challenging. So we're going to go over some point of sale systems. I've picked 6. These are 6 fantastic ones that I know people who have used them. I've done some research into them, and they're ones that work out really well for folks. So just some terminology as we get into this. So POS, point of sales system. So POS is point of sales and then system. And what that is, it's a software that enables transactions to take place. Anytime you go to the grocery store, anytime you go to pretty much any retail operation, you're going to find a point of sale system. Some of them do inventory management, some of them work online, some work offline, some collaborate with your website, some don't, some they all have different features, and finding those features that fit best for you is key. The next terminology is content management system, CMS, and this is specifically for e-commerce, and it is to manage and publish the contents of your online store. So this is your product catalog. If you have a point of sale system, you have an inventory management system, which is all the items that you have in your inventory. Even if you're not counting them, they're still considered inventory. Content management is actually the pictures, the descriptions, all of that information. And then the UX, which is your user experience. This is really key because if your user experience is challenging and it takes your users and your customers a long time to find your product, to order your product, to click on your product, to figure out what exactly they're ordering, they're not going to order very many, or they're not going to do repeat orders because it's too hard for them to get into that system. So before picking out your point of sale system, or before switching your point of sale system even, ask yourself these 3 questions. So what functions do you have to have? Do you need a pack list? Do you need customization where it's weight versus each item versus ounces? Do you have lots of different product sizes and different types of products? Are you doing delivery? If so, what is your delivery route? Can you put in where your delivery route is? So you can say, okay, I only deliver to these zip codes. That's it. And if they're not in that zip code, then they're asked to choose shipping or pick up instead. Do you do tiered pricing? So if you're doing a subscription model, is there tiered pricing? Do you have bundles? What does that look like? We all need IT support. I say that having having a lot of IT support done in my life. It is good to have customer service there when you have questions. Farmers and friends and your network works wonders. And sometimes a lot of the times we experience the same issues and someone will have shot it. But it's good to have that company there who then can answer that question and make sure that you're getting on track and you're getting that answer done so you can move on with your business and you can move on with what you need to do. And then finally, integration. So this could be integrating a newsletter. It could be integrating your own website. It can be integrating social media, all of these different platforms. And then what scale is your farm and what is your budget? The budget is the key. They all cost different amounts. Some are monthly, some are yearly, some are by sales, some are a mix of all of those. So consider how much money you're currently spending or you're willing to spend, and then also consider fees. So some of them have transaction fees plus a percentage of the sale. Some of them are monthly fees, some of them have a setup fee. So kind of do some research. And then that leads into do some research. Research, look, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your network of farmers and mentors, and see what people are using and see what their thoughts and feelings are for them. There are lots of reviews online. That being said, that doesn't mean that they're always going to fit what you want it to look for, but they are out there. Any questions before we kind of get started so far? So the first one we're going to go over, and it's probably the most common, is Square. So Square is a flat rate pricing system. It is on your phone. It is on your computer. You can order a whole system from Square with a barcode scanner, and it works on a tablet and the whole 9 yards. There are no monthly fees for it. You do have to buy the hardware if you're buying hardware for it. So like the barcode scanner and the receipt printer and stuff like that. But the actual system itself, it's free to download. It's free to update. They do charge I think it's 2.9% plus 10 cents per transaction. So it is not ideal for large transactions. So if you are doing several $1,000 transactions or several $100 transactions, and those are your regular sales, then it's not going to be ideal for you. It's very simple to set up. It's very easy to use. There are lots of integrations with it. It integrates into a lot of different website platforms. It integrates into a lot of different email newsletter platforms. It's really great for stores and restaurants. There's also Clover and Toast, which are very similar programs to Square, both of which have been used in a lot of different restaurants and a lot of quick grab and go places as well. There is no phone support. So just kind of keep that in mind. It is challenging to find support. Now, Square has an awesome network of certified users and YouTube University type things. So there are lots of help out there, but they don't have dedicated phone support for you. And then if you don't use it regularly, they might freeze your account. I have not come across this situation myself, but it was something that someone had brought up in some of the reviews. The next one is Shopify. Shopify is another common one that you will see and have. It is really easy to use. It's really easy to customize to your business itself. A lot of online retailers use it. They have fantastic customer support. Fantastic customer support. There are so many certified Shopify consultants and people that Shopify kind of like endorsed to promote their product and work with folks. And it's very compatible with a wide range of businesses, whether you're selling value-added products or meat or dairy or experiences. It works well with a lot of different things. It is pricey. And it's pricey based on your customizations. So how much you customize and how much you do within it is going to be dependent on your price. There are costs for utilizing some of their different themes, which they will give you an e-commerce site, which is where those themes, so what your site looks like, comes into play. And then there are sometimes transaction fees if you use third-party payment providers. So if you're using Stripe, if you're using Square, there will be additional transaction fees versus going through their system. If you want to leave Shopify, it is challenging. They are not willing to let go once you get in. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you choose Shopify, then make sure that it's the right system and it will help. It will grow with you, but make sure it's the right system. The next one is Gray's Cart. So Gray's Cart was established for value-added meat vendors specifically. It is a great system. There is not a lot out there that are cons to it. Shy of no free trial and it's expensive. That is all I could find. I've known several businesses that have used it and they really like it because it's really easy to use. It's very straightforward. It integrates with your website, your own website. They have fantastic customer service because it did start out as a small business and it kind of grew into something a little bit bigger. You can sell at variable weights. And then you can also do products for pickup or delivery, which is important. The next one is Local Line. Again, not a lot of cons with this, shy of expense. And even that is not $50 a month is not terrible. It's not fantastic, but it's not terrible. There are multiple payment options with this one, including ACH, which is a bank transfer. It does have great inventory management tools behind it, especially for farms. That is meant for food-based businesses, so they do understand the variable weights. They understand how that works. It's very easy to navigate, very easy to use, and it is customizable for certain things. And it's another great kind of straightforward site that was developed specifically for farms and for food-based businesses. And finally, the last one I'm going to cover is Barn to Door. This one has grown a lot in the years that I have seen it, since it's been around. And they have adjusted some of their systems and adjusted how they do things to meet more needs of producers than the needs of the business, of their business itself. It is a fully integrated site. So once you get into Barn to Door, it is focused on e-commerce. It is focused on online sales. They do have a built-in point of sale system that you can do farmers market sales with, you can do on-farm sales with, and special event sales, but it is focused mainly on e-commerce. It was built for farmers. And so they have a lot of experience and have worked with a lot of different producers all around the country in tailoring their system to fit the needs of farmers. And so they have the variable weights, they have the CSA model, they have the subscription model, they have all the different models that you could ever want to even think about using within there. They also have a whole website and podcast and platform and blog for tips and tricks. So even if you don't use Barn to Door, I would highly recommend checking out some of their blog posts because they do a great job of showcasing and talking through how to do different types of sales, what customers are looking for, what are some things to consider. And they cover all different aspects of marketing. There are limited customization options for it. It is very expensive. There is a setup fee, then there is a monthly fee, and it is in several $100s to set it up. It is a couple $100s every month. And it's also time consuming to set up. They do require a 3-month onboarding process. So within that onboarding process, they train you on their system. They learn about your business. They work with you to redevelop your marketing and reimagine your marketing to focus more on online sales. So if that's where you're wanting to go, if you're wanting to kind of streamline your marketing, this is a great platform for you. Just be aware that there is time commitment involved with it. There's time commitment in all of these because you do have to input your products manually and their weights and prices. But once the setup is done, most of these are pretty straightforward and going forwards with, and so is Barn to Door. Any questions on any platforms before I jump forward? Awesome. So going back to things to consider as you're picking out your point of sale system, or as you're looking to navigate and migrate from your current one to a different one. Again, think of your budget. Budget's really important because not only are you going to be covering you have to cover your cost of your product and getting your product sold, but also that increase in that point of sale system price or that addition of a point of sale system price. Consider customer support. The quality and the consistency of that platform support is going to be really key, especially in that first year, because you are still learning it. They are still learning you, you are still learning it. And if you can ask those questions, if you can reach out to a sales rep or to your customer support rep, if they have that, then that would be a great way. Think about your own technology skills. Or whoever you have in your business doing technology and doing the online the point of sale system for you. How easy is it to set up? How easy is it to manage and to update? Even if you have a point of sale system for a retail store, you still have to update that product list and those prices because they change over time. Integrations. So if you do additional marketing, newsletter, website, social, all of that, look at whether that platform integrates it. If you have a record keeping software, so QuickBooks or Ambrook or even Google Sheets, how does that point of sale system connect with that? Can you transfer and upload those sales receipts and sales information to there directly, or do you have to download it to your computer and then manually enter it? And then scalability. So obviously we all want to grow our farms and get bigger and better and replace either an off-farm income or grow them to the point where they can kind of run themselves and we can take a step back. So making sure that your platform can handle that, your point of sales platform can handle that, and more products and more clients and orders, as well as your business grows. So some key points. And I feel like I'm kind of hitting the hammer a lot on these, but it's really important. It's not, you can always change your point of sale system, but it's going to be starting from ground zero again. So just kind of keep that in mind as you choose one, making sure that you have one that you can do, you have some longevity with, is going to be important. So not all of them are built equally. Each platform has its unique positives and its unique negatives. So do your research, find one that fits your business best. What fits your neighbor might not always fit you. You might have different goals for your business. So find one that fits what you want to do going forward. And then don't be afraid to reach out to the company, schedule a demo, talk with one of their certified people, or their sales reps, and have them walk you through and ask your questions, ask the hard questions and see what they come up with. If at the end of the demo, you're like, you know what, this isn't the platform for me, you're not going to hurt their feelings. I promise. They get more no's in a day than the rest of us do. So making sure that you do that and you make the time to do that is going to be really important. If they don't have sales reps or walkthrough or demo calls, see if you can watch some YouTube videos on it, and watch people walk through it and go through them, because that will help kind of give you a better idea of how the platform runs. Think about how you sell your product. Where are you selling your product? How are you getting your product to the customer? Does the point of sale system fit that for you? If you're doing mainly farmers market sales and deliveries and pickups and subscriptions, then you've got a wealth of options. If you have a brick and mortar store and you're only doing a handful of farmers markets, your options are a little bit more, your options could be more limited. Are you going to be doing online sales or pre-orders? That can change your system as well. And then finally, your ability to manage the platform. This is really important Because we all like to have, if you're like me, you like to have the thought that your life is together. And you have lots of planners to show that it looks like it is, but it's not always. um, so making sure that you choose a platform that fits your lifestyle. If you are on the go constantly and doing most of your life and most of your business by your phone or a tablet or on the road, you don't need a desktop system. You need something that can work mobile. If you are a desktop person or if you are doing most of it from one location, then a desktop system works and you can look at some other systems as well. Um, and then look at to how many products you have and how easy it is to update those products. That's really important because while it takes time to set up the system on the back end, once you get it, managing it from there should not take as much time. You should be able to go in and hide products if they're out of stock or mark them as sold out, or update pricing real quick, or make sure that you're getting your tax information in there and those that are running taxes. All of that is really important, because the system is supposed to be there to support you and help you, not cause another hurdle and hoop to jump through. All right. So that is the quick and dirty on point of sale systems. Um, it is very much an overview, and a lot of it is really based business to business. So thinking through those key questions, thinking through what works for you and what works for your business and your lifestyle are going to be key. Because it's very important that you find something that works, because if it doesn't work, you're not going to use it. And then you're still back at square one. You're still managing sales, however you're managing sales. And there's that can be challenging as well. You don't have to have a point of sale system, a whole system to manage all of this. You can have a square and you can do it by Excel. You can do it by paper and pen if you want to. But making sure that you are managing those sales somehow and you're recording them and tracking them is important. Even if you're just tracking them by saying this came from this market, this came from that market, this was this product, that was that product, or just a tally mark is really, you're knowing what products you're selling and what products are doing well and what products are not doing well. Because sometimes when we get behind a product, we have a product that we really like, or we have a product that our family really likes, but the rest of the world doesn't have the same connection to it as we might. And while that can be hard for us to hear sometimes, it's good business. At the end of the day, you have to make good choices for your business, and you have to make good choices for the longevity of your business. And so if that curry-based cheese isn't selling because nobody else likes it, then maybe curry-based cheese is not the best route for you. Maybe it's more of a beetroot cheese or a garlic chive cheese. So all of that now transfers into inventory. You can't manage what you don't track. So why should we track inventory? Well, we need to know what we have so we can sell things, because that is a hard conversation to have when you promise somebody, yes, I will sell you this. And you're like, oh, wait, I don't have any more of that. I don't have any more beets. I don't have any more honey. Well, I don't have anything to substitute for this honey or the beets because those are not substitutable. So how do I do this? And we're not Walmart where we can substitute mac and cheese for face cream. So how do we do that? How do we track our inventory? So there are several reasons why you would track inventory. You minimize waste. So you can, especially with a lot of ag products, they expire. What's it called? And so they could be wasted over time. If you don't sell them in a certain period of time, the best by date goes bad. And then you end up throwing that product away or eating it yourself, and you're not making the money that you had hoped on it. So it minimizes waste. It reduces your cost. If you know what you have and you know roughly how much it's valued at, and even just managing your inventory of your bags or your stickers or your jars that are unfilled, you're less likely to buy more over time. And the next is to boost profitability so you can better plan and forecast. So if you know you're selling tomahawk steaks the most in the middle of June and in February, then you know, okay, I need to carry more of these steaks during this time and I need to process more animals to have those. What am I going to do with the rest of it? Or you know, okay, we're going to have an influx of ground beef because it's July and it's grilling month, then we're going to push that. Or ground lamb, or whatever it might be. Um, it enhances efficiency. You know what you have on hand. You can say, if someone calls you and say, hey, I need 5 pounds of cheddar by Friday, you're like, okay, I got it. When do you need it? Like, how do you want me to get it to you? This is what it's going to cost. Whereas if someone calls and you don't have your inventory, you're like, well, I gotta go check. And then you go check. And if you're like me, you find something else to do. And then it's an hour or two before you get back and you're like, oh, they asked for cheddar. And I didn't answer. And then finally, it improves your cash flow. You know what you have, so you can push it out. And you can decrease some of that overhead cost. You can decrease some of that lingering inventory that is hard to sell, whether it's by doing sales or bundling products together. Um, oh, and finally, poor inventory management comes back to impact your business in a lot of different ways that we don't always think about. So if you don't have any traceability of what you use to make your product, it can come down to bad audits. It can come down to risk management. I spelled compliance wrong. Risk management and compliance. So if you are making jams and jellies and all of a sudden you realize you don't have any pectin or you don't have any sugar and you're like, you know what, I've got some stevia laying around here. Well, in theory that works. According to food safety standards, that does not work. You have to have whatever your recipe says you have. If you have excess stock of low use items, sometimes you have it's harder to manage your inventory because while you think you have a lot of inventory, the cost of that inventory is low. And then note finally the benchmark. So how much you're selling or how much people are consuming is important because if you don't track that, it's hard to identify if you have other salespeople, if they're letting product go to waste, if they're giving it away, if they're eating it themselves. But then if you don't have that, it's hard to track how the trends of your customers. When are they buying product? What are they buying? When are they buying it? If you sell at multiple farmers markets or you have multiple locations, what location does better with what product? And that can help with some of that as well. And I think I'm making good time. Any questions on that? Any questions on the presentation? So I'm going to jump on inventory. We're a quiet bunch tonight. Well, I'm going to jump now to our panelists. I'm going to introduce everybody and then we'll go through and let them give a little bit of background about who they are and what they do. And then I've got some questions as well. So let me get started. So we've got Melissa Ballard with Bluegrass Beef here in Kentucky. She's located in Simpsonville. We have Beth Barr Jobson with Ohio Elderberry Farm and Kitchen. And then Joanna Hinton with Hinton's Orchard and Greenhouse in Kentucky as well. So Melissa, if you want to get started, we'll just kind of go through this line and I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm going to correct you, Katie. We're in Shelbyville.
I was close.
You are so close. Still Shelby County. Yeah, my name is Melissa Ballard. My husband and our two kids and myself own and operate Bluegrass Beef. We are a grass-fed, grass-finished, cow calf to finish operation. So we raise and market all of the beef that we sell. We're currently finishing and selling around 50 steers a year or 50 beef a year. We also do a small amount of lamb, like pastured lamb. And then the ways I'm selling, historically, we have sold at both farmers markets and on farm sales. This year, for the first year in about 10 years, I'm actually not doing a farmers market. We've grown our online sales to the point where I'm no longer dependent on farmers market sales, which has actually been a very freeing thing for our family this spring. So I do not do shipping. I do local on-farm pickup and some local delivery. We sell by the retail cut. I tell people I'll sell you everything from 1 pound of ground beef all the way up to a whole cow. So we do retail cuts, and then also the larger steer shares. We have a subscription service as well. So that's kind of just an overview of our business.
Awesome. Thank you. Beth, do you want to go on and introduce yourself again?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name's Beth. We're in Adams County, Ohio, which is the very southernmost part. My partner and I raise elderberries primarily. We grow other things too, but we've got about 600 elderberry bushes in the ground. And from those fruit and those flowers, we make value-added products, primarily elderberry syrup. That's our biggest seller. We also do elderflower syrup that people mostly use for cocktails, not so much for health reasons, but that's fine with me. And we also make some like skincare salves out of herbs. So we've been doing this for 4 years now. We sell at farmers markets, but not so many as much actually farmers markets. We do festivals more. That's a better fit for us. We do one farmers market once a month, and then we do festivals that are like all weekend long where people are coming because you don't buy elderberry syrup every week. It's not like milk or tomatoes. And then we do a lot of online sales. We do some wholesale. And that's pretty much it. And we use Shopify, and I'd be happy to tell you more about that later.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth. And then Joanna.
All right, I'm Joanna Hinton. I will make one correction. We are Hinton's Orchard and Farm Market as a business name instead of greenhouse. So if you're looking for us later, that'll be an easier way to find us. But my husband and I and our 3 lovely children that you see there in my picture are in our really 24th year of business now. We've been 19 years at our current location and have operated under the name of Hinton's Orchard and Farm Market for those 19 years. We operate an on-farm market and a store that's about 30 miles away from our farm. Both of those locations are open primarily spring, late March to mid-March, depending on which market you're talking about. And then we both close up at Christmas with some limited winter hours at our in-town market. We also do 2 farmers markets through the summertime. Melissa referenced that they have quit farmers market. Our farmers market season is just about to start, and we are in talks about whether that is something that our business needs to continue. Again, looking at some freeing things for our family, and our business has grown to a point where it's not as necessary for us to be there. We also do a little bit of wholesale and to a local grocery store. So we start this time of year primarily in the greenhouse business, where we are selling lots of plants, vegetable plants, bedding plants, hanging baskets, all the fun things. We also do seasonal vegetables, a variety of fruits, tree fruit and berries. And we have a pretty large agritourism component to our business here on the farm. So my kindergarten speech says that we grow 27 different things you can eat and about 5 that you don't. So that's kind of just the synopsis with us.
Awesome. So we've got 3 very different businesses and 3 very different models to kind of hear from on how they manage sales, track inventory, and run their POS. So the first question to the group, and we'll kind of go in the same order as we just did in introductions, is what system do you currently use to accept orders or to check people out via retail? And then why did you choose that method and that system?
Yeah, so we actually use Local Line, which is one of the point of sale systems that you outlined, or e-commerce systems. We started with Local Line. We were kind of an early adopter. When they started the company, they actually acquired a company. I had signed up to use a company called Local Orbit that was a very old system. And around when COVID hit, I was doing a very poor job of managing inventory, taking orders, all the things. And so we really locked into Local Line. And I tell people it changed my life. It was one of the best things I've ever done for our business. So Local Line had all of the features that we wanted, and it's actually grown through the years. It's like we've grown with Local Line. They have amazing customer service, and we've been really happy with them. I also use Square as well. Square integrates with Local Line, and so at the farmers markets, I was using Square to take in-person orders, but Local Line does have a point of sale a thing that I could have been using, but I was kind of doing two things, but we're primarily Local Line.
Awesome. Beth?
Sorry, I just realized it was my turn and I should probably go. So yeah, like I said, we use Shopify. We've been using that the whole time. We chose it because we wanted something that would do online as well as point of sale and have it all sync inventory together and just be super intuitive. I also use a different software for our website, and I just use Shopify for purchase. Like, so for our product pages, like if you go to our website, which is ohioelderberry.com, like that front page is in a different system. And then if you click on elderberry syrup, you go to a Shopify page, which is where you actually buy the product. And I set it up that way because I don't like Shopify's themes. They're very restrictive. Like Katie was talking about, like if you want the really great, like fun, sexy ones, you have to pay money for them. And I'm cheap and I don't want to pay extra money for things beyond what I have to actually have to run my business. So I use something else for my website and Shopify just for products, inventory, point of sale, that kind of stuff. We don't currently use it for creating invoices for our wholesale orders, but we're going to start doing that together. So we're probably not fully optimized from an inventory perspective. It's been good to take a minute to think about this and how we could do better. But it's worked out great for us. We've had good experience with their customer service. We like purchase 3 years in advance. And so our price for Shopify is like $25 a month, which is as good as it's gonna get. Like you can't get cheaper than that. And then when we ship through Shopify, we get a discount, a pretty significant discount on shipping. And then we pay shipping to Shopify. So our monthly bill is actually higher than that but it varies based on how much we've sold.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Joanna.
All right. We currently use Square. We've been using Square since about 2016 or 17, I think. We are using it in the markets. We are using it at farmers market. And we do a little online sales at different times of the year, primarily in those winter months when we're open limitedly. We use it so that people can pre-order at that time of year. And we don't use the inventory mechanism very much because it doesn't work very well for us in transferring things from one location to the other. So we are doing that externally, but we are using the reporting, all the sales reporting, and use the dashboard to check in daily so that I can see what's going on at both locations.
Awesome. It's fantastic. I really like that you all use 3 different ways, and it's great. So my next question is, even without using the point of sales to track inventory, what are the biggest challenges you face with tracking inventory, especially frequently changing product availability? Melissa, we'll start.
Yeah, so I think probably the best way to illustrate this is to go back to before we were using inventory management or online sales in any way. I was probably a lot like you all. We were getting orders in a lot of different ways. And I was trying to track inventory. I was doing really crazy, silly things like keeping a list on the outside of my freezer of what was in it and crossing off what was, as we sold stuff. We were just small enough at that point that I was just kind of like cobbling things together, making it work. I would have people text me orders. I would have people email me orders. I would have people call me. People would try to place orders on social media. There was just no organized way to take orders and then manage the inventory when all of it was coming in. And so those were all challenges we had. Also, the challenge of when we were selling at the farmers market and then selling online, once we went online, that was another challenge. But when we switched to local line, that basically took all of those issues away. So I would direct everyone. I'd say, if you're going to order from us, you have to order in this way. And there was a learning curve there for a lot of customers that were used to just texting me an order. But it's turned out better for everyone. It's simpler for them. They can go on. People say things like, "Oh, you have like a real website," like, yeah, we do. Get on. They can place their order. They choose their pickup day. It automatically takes out of my inventory. So I know exactly what's in there at all times. Another cool thing, another challenge that we have had was where we're selling subscriptions, bundles, boxes, and individual cuts. One nice thing about Local Line, and I think probably other systems do this as well, there's a feature where you can have all of that pull from one inventory. So subscriptions that use ground beef and individual ground beef cuts, they all pull from my one batch of ground beef. So it keeps everything really organized for me in that way. I think those were the biggest challenges we were having.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm the best one to speak to this because we don't really have frequently changing inventory. Like, we produce these fairly stable value-added products. And so when we produce a new batch of elderberry syrup, for example, we'll go in and say, all right, we produced 250 bottles, 150 of them were larges, 100 of them were smalls, and we input that, and then it updates in the system how many we have. And because we use the point of sale as well as online, like we have inventory for online sales and we have inventory for point of sale sales, and it can tell them apart. And we've got online ones set up to allow sales if we're out of stock. Like, the system, you can choose for each product. Do you want to allow sales if you're out of stock, or do you not? And we allow those sales in our case because we can always make more and send it. So it's not like it's a big problem. It's not like we don't raise a whole cow, in order to be able to fulfill the order. But for the point of sale ones, it allows us to keep track of what we sell per market. So if we're selling at 2 different markets, for example, on that day, we have 2 different locations, we can tell, who sold what. So it worked out really well.
Our challenges with tracking inventory are because it's going so many different ways. And when we're talking about squash, honestly, I don't keep a very good inventory of it because there always seems to be squash. And when we're out of squash for the season, then it goes away. And so we know what we're harvesting, and those things are cataloged, but they do not go into the point of sale system at all. We just divide it amongst our locations and figure out what needs to go each place. The kind of things that we are tracking a little more diligently are really the things that twofold things that come out of our kitchen. So we bake bread and make peanut butter and have ice cream and those kind of things. So we're using historic sales numbers to figure out, okay, this was Memorial Day weekend last year. This is what we did. This is what we forecast that we need to do for this year. Sometimes it's accurate. Sometimes, frankly, it's not. But we can use those to judge and make at least our best guess. And obviously, if a weather event's coming in for these days, then you are going to make adjustments for that as well. Other things outside of the kitchen, that we sell a line of jams and jellies and things that we do not produce that we're purchasing. We also have some local meat products. I have an egg vendor. We sell milk from a local dairy. So lots of things like that we're ordering on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis from those folks, or with the jar products, the fruit butters and jellies. We're ordering those periodically. I do have an inventory tracking system that we use for that. It's a spreadsheet. Everybody knows how to do it. And then we keep those, again, historically, to know where we are. We know we get some shipping benefit at certain levels. And so we're trying to not order until we know that we're going to get that discounted shipping. Sometimes we run out of things. But then back and forth as far as tracking inventory between the two locations. We're very basic and probably maybe a little bit old, but we use the Remind app on our phone, because everybody that works for me, for the most part, has an iPhone. People that come in with Androids, that is a challenge because it will not integrate with them. But I have a list for our in-town store, what they need, and every day we clear that out and fill it up again. And so it works for us. It might not work for everybody, but it's very simple. There's no training required beyond you open this app, you type the things in, and then we know what needs to go back and forth between the locations.
You guys are so good. You answered my next two questions in your answers. So that works out well. How, and you each have kind of answered this, but I'm going to ask it again to see if there are some more thoughts that come out of it. How do you ensure accuracy between what's available in your inventory and then what's listed online or available at your markets?
Yeah, I can speak a little more to that. And we're not doing markets anymore, so that takes that out of the equation for us, because honestly, that was a really complex thing. And my inventory would frequently get messed up because I would oversell at the market and wouldn't remember to take it off the website and things like that. And so that it gets really tricky. Every other week or so, I actually do inventory, and especially when we're just getting new inventory in, I have a list of every single product that we sell. And so as we're bringing more beef into the freezers, there is someone, we are doing inventory as we are putting it into the freezers. And then that generally does it for us, because I just put everything online, or what I want online, whatever. But I get really paranoid about overselling or people buying something where inventory is not correct. And so every other week or so, I go down to my freezers and kind of just go through the SKUs and make sure everything is correct manually. It's quite a bit of work, but it's not as much work as having to do a lot of customer communication and refunding if they oversell, if I oversell or something like that. One thing that did help us a little bit when we were selling at the market and selling online, I sell by the package instead of by actual weight. So for example, I have like a small ribeye, medium ribeye, large ribeye. And then I have a weight range for each of those, and customers buy per piece, and the actual weight varies a little bit. The weight ranges are pretty tight. But my farmer's market is where I sold all my outliers first. So things that didn't fit into those neat categories that I would have online, that automatically went into my farmer's market inventory. And so that helped a little bit, whereas I wasn't taking the items that were online. For the most part, I was trying to take other inventory to the market, separate inventory. And I think that's kind of like what maybe what Beth was saying about they had separate point of sale inventory and online inventory. And I think that's probably a good way to manage that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. And I was going to say too that you have to just like suck it up and count, right? Like the only way to know for sure how much you have is it's a pain. And we're just like schlepping heavy things, and you're opening freezers. Like it's a chore, but like that's the only answer. The other thing we do besides Shopify is we don't run our cash sales in person through Shopify. We could. I know other vendors who do, in order to use the inventory have their Shopify inventory or their Square inventory or whatever be more accurate. We just didn't when we got started, and we have the habit of not doing it. So we're also tracking our cash sales in a spreadsheet so that we know how much to pay in taxes. And we know what we sold at a previous market, as opposed to, so that next year we can look back and say, okay, when we went to Appalachian Festival, we sold this many. That means we need to make sure we take more than that, for this time. So there is that manual piece, and the same with wholesale orders. Whenever we fulfill a wholesale order, we're updating that spreadsheet with how many we delivered and on what day and how much we collected and all that. So that's a challenge. and then doing the numbers at the end of the quarter to be able to look at like how much did we do in cash, how much did we do on credit cards in person, how much did we do online in credit cards, and how much did we do wholesale. We've got like 4 separate things that we're tracking, and 2 of them come through Shopify and 2 of them come only on the spreadsheet. But we also have card sales on the spreadsheet, so we have to back that out. And like, yeah, it's a lot of math.
I think it's too late for math for me tonight. As I said, we're doing very little online sales. Nearly everything that we have is a pre-order for special events that we're having. So during those winter markets, we'll open online sales because we're only open on Saturdays for a 4-hour period. So we'll open online sales, particularly for our Valentine's Day weekend, because we do some extra things. During COVID, we did a lot with online sales because it was people were accustomed to doing it for businesses like us at that time, and it worked for us. But then we saw a very sharp decline, and it just didn't. It wasn't worth the time I was investing to keep things updated to make that work. And so we don't have that place where our inventory might be in conflict. It's just, are we out of this or are we not? Is kind of where we are today.
Awesome. I'm going to kind of rewind and use one of my other questions and kind of, because both Melissa and Beth, you all talked, and even Joanna, you also talked about manual systems and spreadsheets. So do you all have any tips or templates that have worked well for staying organized with more manual-based systems or spreadsheet systems?
I basically have just created my own with my own SKUs, and it's a manual, like it's a tally mark system. So sometimes I will say, if you put the work in up front to create something like that for yourself, you really don't have to, that's not a repeat thing that you have to do. I mean, you obviously have to do the inventory every time, but you don't have to recreate that spreadsheet or document. So if you'll put the work in ahead of time to create something that works really well for you, it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only other thing I would say is like, just keep it simple, right? Like it only needs to do what you need it to do. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing ever. And it doesn't have to necessarily be something anybody else would look at and be like, that's amazing. Like it just has to keep track for you. So don't overthink it. Yeah. And you'll kind of figure it out as you go, right? Your first one won't be exactly right. That's okay.
I would really echo almost all of that because it just has to work for you. And for me, it varies by season what works for me, because what works in the spring with greenhouse sales, we have a 2-ply order form that goes between places, especially if we're doing custom stuff. Then we have just a simple order form sheet that stays at both cash registers during the summer when people are coming for, whether it's, hey, I want to pick up a gallon of strawberries on Friday, or if it's, I need 50 pounds of tomatoes in July, then that's just a simple weekly calendar that we keep at both cash registers so that both stores are keeping up with what that, and then we communicate that back and forth. Then we do some Christmas gift back sales, and it's a very different process. So it really depends on what we're doing, what that organization looks like, but it works for me and probably only in my brain. And so whatever works in your brain is what you should do.
Awesome. What advice, so going down the line of advice, what advice would you give someone just starting out when choosing a point of sale system or an inventory system?
I've been sitting here thinking about that question, and I think my advice would be to invest it with potential for growth, right? Get the I'm cheap and I don't like to spend money. So the thought of dishing out, shelling out $50 a month or whatever it was when we started, it was less than that even. And I was like, oh, it changed my life so much when I went ahead and invested in a system that did so much for me. It cut the time that I was doing, customer communication. It really tightened up our inventory. There were fewer mistakes. It was so valuable to our business. It has paid for itself tenfold. And also, I'm glad that we chose a system that has continued to grow with us as a business. So when we started, we weren't doing subscriptions, but that feature, and it wasn't available when we started with Local Line. But if you're just starting out and you think that may be something you want to add in the future, go ahead and start with a system that offers something that you may want to grow into, because it's very hard to change systems. It's much easier to add features or pay for extra features with existing systems. Like Local Line, Shopify, you can add on these things as you go. And that is so helpful, instead of having to shop around and find a whole new system that fits you now that you're 5 years down the road. So invest for the future would be my big advice.
Yeah, I would totally second all of that. Absolutely. Like, it is hard to swallow paying a monthly fee or a setup fee or whatever it is, but if it's the right platform for you, it'll totally pay for itself. And so I would say just take the time up front to like do those demos, do another demo, ask more questions, contact their support and find out how good their support is. Like, really test it and talk to other farms who use it. I'd be happy to talk to anybody who's thinking about using Shopify, and I can like show you the back end and how it looks and all that. Because I do think finding the right system makes a huge difference. We have another farmer in Ohio who does very similar business as ours, and she started with barn to door, which wasn't the right fit for her business. Like, she's not, all the things that they're optimized for are not things that she's doing, and all the things she is doing, they don't pay enough attention to. And so she needed to switch, and it was and she's not tech savvy at all. It was a nightmare for her to move from one to another. So like, really take the time to do your due diligence up front and then invest. It's totally worth it.
I don't have any, I don't want to think about switching. And there may be, when we started with Square, it was really one of the only options that we knew of when we were talking about almost 10 years ago now. And so there probably are things that are better suited for us. Lots of things that Kati presented about earlier that probably are better suited for our business today. But the amount of information that would have to move is not anything that I'm interested in doing. Maybe my kids will want to do that in a few years, but for us, Square works for us. It's a very easy interface. It's very, when I hire teenagers and they come to work for me, they know how to use it. Anybody that has a smartphone can figure out how to use it. And so inventory is not the bonus, but all of the categorizing that we can do, all the reports that we can run, invoices that I can send, all of those things work very well for us. But I can't imagine trying to switch. So find what fits for you, figure out what your budget is. And if it's not at a point where you need to invest the money to go into something, then maybe you should just wait. And it's okay to not have a POS system from the beginning if you can grow into one that will fit you for forever.
I think that's a really good point, because it is a consistent expense. And so if you don't have budget for it yet, don't do it. Just do it all with Venmo and cash and spreadsheets until you can afford the monthly fee or whatever. Yeah.
That's great advice. Before I open it up to participants to ask questions, do you all have any parting words that you would like to share, or any thoughts that came up in some of the other questions, or things that I should have asked that I didn't ask that you want to share with anybody?
I think the integrations are maybe an underappreciated aspect to all of this. It is our Square and our Local Line are integrated. So even when I was selling at the farmer's market using Square, everything was going into Square, and then the online sales. So that really helps your reporting. If you can have, if you're using multiple systems, if they can talk to each other. And then I think Kati mentioned earlier the QuickBooks. If whatever system you're using can go straight into your QuickBooks, it's a huge time save things. And then there's even some other integrations that I'm interested in. There's a company called Zapier that will automate things for you. So the next thing I'm looking at is when someone creates an account on our our local line site, I want their email to automatically be added to my Flow Desk, who is my email service provider. So little things like that that you don't really think about up front can just save so much time and create a lot of efficiency down the road if you find a system that has lots of integrations.
I don't have any other new things, so we can take other people's questions and I'll see what comes up.
I'll pass as well.
All right, I'm going to open it up to participants, whoever has questions or any other questions that come up.
Everybody's on mute and they're all going to have to think now.
No. I mean, it's a beautiful day, at least here in Kentucky it is. So,
yeah.
If there are no other questions, I want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your evenings to spend time with us and be on this panel. It was super helpful for those who were here. I think it was super helpful just going forwards to record as recorded for people to see and watch, because this is a question that I get asked a lot about point of sale systems and inventory management. And it's one that is challenging because it's different per person and it's different per business. But you all offered a lot of great insight onto different things and all from different perspectives too, which was fantastic. So thank you all so much for this. I'm gonna say a couple of things, Katie, and then I'll turn it over to you so you can close out the series. Thank you all again for coming and participating. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to Rural Action, Katie with Rural Action as well. We'll kind of get in touch and see how we can help. This is the last of the series, so thank you so much for sticking with us for 4 weeks. We greatly appreciate it, and it was fantastic to kind of share this knowledge with you all at the time of the year when it's most important. And I'll turn it over to Katie.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, this has been a really awesome series. Really appreciate partnership with Katie from KCARD. I think us at Rural Action, we've been really proud of this series because the panel, the lecture, then panelist kind of format has been very well received. And I think you as panelists, thank you so much for joining us tonight, but have just so much like real life knowledge to share with people who might just be starting out and looking into these things. So really appreciate your knowledge and expertise. And yes, these recordings, the recording will be going out tomorrow morning. And then I will also be putting these up on YouTube, the whole series, once I edit them. So be looking out for that. It'll be my first time doing that. So be patient, it is coming. But appreciate your time tonight and have a lovely rest of your evening. Thank you all. Bye now.